तो अगर तुम्हें लगता है कि इंडिया में होमलेसनेस का हालत बहुत ज़्यादा खराब है, देन यू विल बी शॉक्ड ये जान के कि सिर्फ इंडिया में ही नहीं बट चाइना, जो कि हमें हमेशा से लगता था कि चाइना इज सच अ बिग ब्यूटीफुल कंट्री जहाँ पे कोई भी लिटरिंग नहीं है, कोई भी गंदगी नहीं है, देयर सिटीज आर वेरी बिग, क्योंकि हमें हमेशा ट्रेडिशनल मीडिया जो है वो यही दिखाती हुई आई है, राइट। लेकिन मैं तुम्हें आज एक ऐसा वीडियो दिखाने वाला हूँ जो तुम्हारी आंखें खोल के रख देगी। So there is really big thing is going on in China, the rise of homelessness streamers। तो ये सारी यंग लड़कियां जो कि नेक्स्ट बिग स्ट्रीमर बनने की कोशिश कर रही है, एंड देयर आर लॉट ऑफ। सो व्हाट्स गोइंग ऑन विद चाइना, राइट, एंड उधर होमलेसनेस किस रूप में आगे बढ़ रहा है, तो आज हम लोग इस वीडियो में जानने वाले हैं। अगर तुम्हें ये लगता था कि इंडिया में होमलेसनेस खराब हालत में है, एंड यू विल बी सरप्राइज टू सी दिस वीडियो, द राइज ऑफ होमलेस स्ट्रीमर्स इन चाइना। ये उस तरह का वीडियो है जो कि हमें नॉर्मली कभी भी यूट्यूब रिकमेंड नहीं करता है, नॉर्मली कभी भी रिकमेंड नहीं करता है अनलेस और अनटिल कोई इस पे वीडियो बना रहा हो। So I hope you will enjoy this video, and this is such a great video.
If you walk around in a Chinese city at night, you might come across something like this.
Like you can see everyone is like sitting here and making content.
Rows of people, mostly young and attractive, sitting or standing on the streets in front of rows of phones and ring lights, singing and talking and sometimes dancing. They look like streamers, but they also look homeless. Indeed, they do gather around places where homeless people tend to be. On the
I
side,
think in real life जो stream होता है that normally looks like homeless people are streaming in the road, right? खासकर अगर तुम रोड के साइड में बैठ के ऐसे स्ट्रीम कर रहे हो, एंड एक दो होता तो फिर भी मुझे समझ आता, बट 1 2 3 4 एंड देयर आर लाइक मोर देन 10 पीपल आर हेयर, वो भी सिर्फ सिंगल एक ये गली में, राइट, एंड देयर आर मोर पीपल हेयर, राइट, यू कैन सी, राइट, एंड आई प्रोबब्ली गेस कि इधर भी लोग होंगे, इधर भी लोग होंगे, सो दिस थिंग इज गोइंग वाइल्ड।
sidewalks, inside tunnels, on bridges or under bridges. There was even a bridge that became so famous for this type of gathering that people
Ooh,
started going
look at this guys, कितने सारे लोग हैं, like कितने सारे, it's not even one or two, अब जो मैं 10 लोग गिन रहा था, it's like so many peoples। और normally इधर मुझे streamers भी दिख रहे हैं, and then there are a lot of public as well जो कि like probably streamers को जो डांस कर रहे हैं, गाना गा रहे हैं, some kind of परफॉर्मेंस एक्ट कर रहे हैं, a lot of men and women as well जो कि like इस व्यू को एंजॉय कर रहे हैं।
there just to watch the spectacle. There was so much foot traffic under the bridge that at one point it started to look like a local festival or block party. You can see people dressed up impeccably while
ओके दिस इज नेक्स्ट लेवल, राइट, क्योंकि आई डोंट नो, मैंने आज तक कोई ऐसा स्ट्रीमर देखा है जो कि लाइक ऐसे मड वगैरह, ऐसे लाइक मिट्टी वगैरह में डांस वगैरह कर रहा है। आई थिंक दिस इज ऑल फॉर द अट्रैक्शन,
dancing in the mud,
एंड
or carrying a
शी
heavy
इज
jar
काइंड
of water
getting
while
सक्सेसफुल।
dancing in the mud, or downright rolling in the mud, or basically doing whatever it takes to get attention.
वेट, आई नो दिस, वेट, आई नो दिस, इज दिस वुकॉम जो गेम आया था रिसेंटली, इफ यू नो दैट, या दिस इज वुकॉम, राइट। दिस इज वुकॉम, मुझे नहीं पता था कि ऐसा दिखता है वुकॉम।
From viewers online. Now, if you're seeing this for the first time, you probably have a few commonly asked questions. What are they doing? Why are they doing that? Are they
Yeah,
streaming? Are they homeless? Why are they streaming outside? Why can't they
why?
stream from home? Why are they all together like that? Why can't they just stream by themselves? Why do they seem so desperate?
Whoa,
What's pushing them to go this far?
whoa,
Why is this happening? Why are we here? What's the meaning of
whoa।
life? The universe? Okay, I got you. In this video,
आई थिंक द रियल प्रॉब्लम इज कि सबको सेम लेवल का क्राउड चाहिए सक्सेसफुल होने के लिए। ऑफ कोर्स इफ यू आर अ स्ट्रीमर, अगर तुम 10 लोगों के साथ स्ट्रीम कर रहे हो वर्सेस 10,000 लोगों के सामने स्ट्रीम कर रहे हो, दैट मेक्स अ रियली बिग डिफरेंस, राइट। और जैसे ही कोई एक स्ट्रीमर एक बड़े लेवल तक पहुंच जाता है, तो बाकी जो दूसरे स्ट्रीमर है जो रिलेटिवली उससे जो नीचे है, तो उनको यही लगेगा कि इफ आई जस्ट डू द ग्राइंड एंड डू वट एवर इट टेक्स, तो मैं भी उस लेवल तक पहुंच सकता हूँ। लेकिन दे नीड टू रियलाइज कि जो जो ऑडियंस है वो लिमिटेड ही है एक तरीके से, राइट, एंड नॉट एवरीवन डिजर्व्स टू गेट द अट्रैक्शन, इवन दो कि तुम्हें लग रहा है कि तुम बहुत कुछ कर रहे हो, बट दिस वीडियो एक्सप्लेन्स इट रियली वेल।
mostly because it makes for engaging content. You're probably seeing TikTok dancers do this, filming their content in public, sometimes to the annoyance of other people. TikTokers can and do
आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर फार्मिंग एक्चुअली लूजर्स, पता है कि मोस्ट ऑफ द लाइक अनोइंग पीपल जो कि लाइक रियली अनॉयज द जनरल पब्लिक, लाइक प्रॉब्ली डांस या फिर कुछ प्रैंक करके, देयर ऑडियंस नॉर्मली ऐसे ज्यादा टिकते नहीं है उनके स्ट्रीम्स वगैरह पे. वंस दे गेट लिटिल बोरिंग, they will switch. They'll just switch like you're some used cloth or something, right? So I think people need to realize on that as well.
Who film their content in private spaces, but there's something interesting about the real world chaos. The cars and the cityscape and the social pressure of other people watching that can make the content more engaging to watch. And these Chinese streamers stream in public to capture some of that same engagement on their stream. Additionally, for some streamers, this is also an attempt to appeal to pity. The idea is that if viewers see them sitting out
Yeah, I think pity is one of the biggest thing. Like अगर तुम किसी को देख रहे हो कि बाहर कोई ठंडी में स्ट्रीम वगैरह कर रहा है, like they all are doing the same thing, right? They're not doing something different. As I said, they're literally farming losers.
in the cold at 1 in the morning, they might feel empathy towards the streamers and as a result become nicer to them and donate to their stream more often. In fact, when I first started researching this topic, I had to do a sanity check and contact a few people in China to make sure that they've actually seen this with their own eyes and this is not just AI generated footage. And unfortunately, it is real. In fact, you can watch the stream from these streamers right now. You need to use a Chinese streaming platform, and here's me trying to do this a few weeks ago. I just searched for street streaming.
Okay, if you don't know, Douyin is one of their biggest platform in the China, right? WeChat के साथ WeChat तो बहुत बड़ा है ही, but Douyin जो है वो basically TikTok है, right? पहले इंडिया में TikTok exist करता था, thanks to Modi, it got banned. लेकिन Douyin जो है it's same like TikTok if you still use TikTok. So if you don't know, I think TikTok is like one of the biggest like user base in China. You can see it's over 700 million monthly active users. That's like huge. That's basically huge.
Found one after just a couple of scrolls. What was shocking to me was that I was watching this at 1:40 in the afternoon Pacific time, which would have been about 4, almost 5 o'clock in the morning in China. So this poor girl was on the street at basically 5 in the morning while it was kind of raining and streaming for the 46 people who
Again, she's doing the same thing, right? A street streaming business, gaining empathy, pity, right? जिससे लोग देखे, but unfortunately, she's not getting the attraction, even though she's like
were watching this
wearing some kind of clothes. Of course, it's for a reason, guys. She's streaming and she's streaming to 46 people, gaining empathies and maybe getting some subs, donation, जिसके कारण ही ये इतने रात like 1:40 p.m. तक ये स्ट्रीम कर रही है, वो भी बाहर.
going this far. Sure, streaming outside might make for slightly better content, but compared to the comfort of streaming from home, what's pushing these streamers to go out in the cold in the middle of the night? Now,
Okay, so there is a term called whale, right? If you know something about gaming, right? So there is a term called whale or someone who has like a lot of money, right? They are just farming people. Like तुम्हें जो वो जो लास्ट स्ट्रीमर था, द लास्ट फीमेल स्ट्रीमर जिसको लोग अराउंड 46 लोग देख रहे थे, लेट्स से शी हैव लाइक 3 people with loads of money, right? So if you're a streamer, so you don't need a lot of viewers, right? You need just 2 to 3 people जिसके पास काफी ज्यादा पैसे है, and maybe they get empathetic to you and donate a load bunch of money. There is a big culture out there जहाँ पे लोगों को पता है ऐसे whales rich guys काफी ज्यादा डोनेट करते हैं, मे बी एम्पैथिक हो गए या फिर सम काइंड ऑफ कंटेंट दे आर गेटिंग, सो यू रियली डोंट नीड अ लॉट ऑफ व्यूअर्स. एंड आई थिंक सारे लड़कियां ऐसे सिमिलर टाइप के लोगों को ही फार्म कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज देयर आर नो अदर रीजंस कि तुम रात को 1-2 बजे इतने ठंड में, ठीक है, तुम स्ट्रीम करो, वो भी हाफ नेकेड क्लोथ्स पे, राइट? सो दैट्स काइंड ऑफ क्रेजी, एंड वो भी सिर्फ 46 लोगों को. एंड इट्स वेरी वियर्ड टू से कि लाइक ऐसा कोई क्यों कर सकता है जबकि तुम घर पे बैठ के भी स्ट्रीम कर सकते हो. लेकिन आई थिंक दे आर ऑल ट्राइंग देयर बेस्ट टू गेट द वेल्स, द रिच गाइस, जो कि उन्हें काफी ज्यादा मालामाल कर सकती है.
economic reason for this. After the COVID lockdown, China's economy has not rebounded as strongly as one would have hoped. The rate of unemployment is still relatively high, and even those with jobs might not necessarily be able to afford the cost of living in major cities. Streaming, on the other hand, has a low barrier to entry. Basically, anyone with a phone and an internet connection can do it.
Absolutely. Like streaming is by far the most accessible to anyone, even in India, right? अगर तुम्हें नहीं पता, तुम अगर गलती से यूट्यूब शॉर्ट्स को स्क्रॉल कर लेते हो, इंडिया में ज्यादा यूट्यूब शॉर्ट्स स्क्रॉल करने पे तुम्हें वो शॉर्ट फीड में लाइव स्ट्रीम नहीं दिखता होगा, बिकॉज आई डोंट नो, आई थिंक स्टिल इंडिया में एक्सपेरिमेंटल है। बट इफ यू सी इट एंड तुम अगर उसको क्लिक करते हो एंड देन स्क्रॉल करते हो, देन यू विल सी अ लॉट ऑफ इंडियन स्ट्रीमर जो कि वियर्ड हरकतें कर रहे हैं, एंड यू विल नॉट रियलाइज कि लाइक ये भी एक इंडिया का पार्ट है, जहां पे ऐसे लोग भी है कि जो ऐसे ऐसे तरह के स्ट्रीम करते हैं, राइट? आई डोंट हैव द एग्जैक्ट like footage or maybe some kind of screenshot right now, but and I'm really talking about the experience, like those are not some kind of streamers जो कि like tier 1 or maybe urban cities में रहते हैं। those streamers are mostly like tier 2 or tier 3 cities। कुछ लोग even QR कोड स्कैनर लेके बैठे हुए हैं, like digital भिखारी। I don't know, I don't know, there is some kind of thing is going on। मैंने recently देखा कि like digital भिखारी बोल के something is going viral right now in India, so yeah।
So naturally, streaming becomes something many Chinese people do to supplement their income. According to CCTV, there were more than 15 million professional streamers in China.
Oh, 15 million. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's a lot of professional streamer. And they're not saying streamer जो कि like stream on करके बैठ जा रहा है, प्रोफेशनल स्ट्रीमर जिसके पास प्रॉपर इक्विपमेंट्स वगैरह है, सब कुछ एंड ऑल।
By the end of
That's crazy।
2023. That means roughly 1 in every 100 people in China were streamers. In other words,
China is wilding out, guys।
but there are other factors that exaggerates this sense of desperation in streamers and push them to work harder. One of these
आई थिंक अगर तुम्हें स्ट्रीमिंग से पैसा कमाना है तो रियली जो तुम्हें सबसे ज्यादा डिफरेंट बनाती है वो है तुम क्या अलग कंटेंट प्रोवाइड कर सकते हो, राइट? एंड देयर आर ऑलवेज समवन जो कि लाइक कुछ ना कुछ अलग करके वो आगे आ ही जाता है, इवन दो देयर आर 15 मिलियन स्ट्रीमर्स आउट देयर, राइट? सैचुरेशन इज ऑफ कोर्स अ थिंग, बट अगर तुम कुछ यूनिक करते हो and you do not have to follow the trend to go viral, right? There are a lot of streamers जो कि like heavy competitive niche में भी काफी ज्यादा उभर के आए हैं, right? Even in India, so if you are not a loser you will win no matter what, right? अगर तुम कुछ नया ट्राई करते हो एंड तुम उसको अच्छे तरीके से करते हो एंड यू नो what you are doing, then you will come ahead and you will beat the competition।
These factors is baked directly into the mechanics of Chinese streaming platforms, and it has to do with how Chinese streamers get paid. Now, many streaming platforms in the West, like Twitch and YouTube, have ad revenue sharing programs. Once streamers are qualified and accepted into the program, even if their viewers don't pay them, the streamers can still get paid from ad revenue. Chinese streaming platforms, on the other hand, don't have ad revenue sharing, or at least not yet at this time. So streamers' income has to come from the pocket of the viewers. That usually happens in one of two ways. First is straight up viewer donation. Viewers can tip the streamers directly through these virtual gifts. This is one of the most common ways for street streamers to monetize. The second way is live
Oh my god, that's really hard। क्योंकि अगर तुम इंडिया में कंटेंट बना रहे हो, राइट, लाइक अगर तुम एक यूट्यूबर हो तो यू प्रोबब्ली नो दैट अगर तुम यूट्यूब वीडियोस या फिर इवन स्ट्रीम करते हो, दैट इवेंचुअली जाके वो एक वीडियो बनी जाती है, जब तुम स्ट्रीम एंड करते हो देन तुम उससे एड रेवेन्यू कमा रहे होते हो, राइट? क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया में बहुत ही बड़ा डोनेशन कल्चर है लाइक यूएस एंड अदर वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज। इंडिया में मोस्टली लोग रिलाई करती है एडवर्टाइजमेंट मनी से, राइट, एडसेंस मनी। आई थिंक इट्स रियली हार्ड एंड रियली कॉम्पिटेटिव इन चाइना, जहाँ पे तुम्हें डोनेशन कल्चर पे डिपेंड करना पड़ता है।
commerce, and this is basically infomercial but on streams. Streamers would talk about the product, and there will be a button at the bottom of the screen for viewers to buy. When that happens, the streamer receives a commission from the sales. Now, regardless of how it happens, the fact remains that streamers don't get paid unless viewers take money out of their own pocket and give it to them in one way or another. This creates an incentive, if ever so subtly, for streamers to be a bit more desperate. They seem more needy because they do need something from their viewers. Because of this, there were memes circulating on Chinese social media that compares these street streamers to beggars. Here's one such meme, and the top here says,
I mean, yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, this looks like beggar, and what is the difference between this and this? Guess। कि इनके हाथ में कटोरा है एंड इनके हाथ में मोबाइल विद कैमरा स्टैंड। That's the only difference I can spot. And maybe they are just young and they are not just really young, right? It's really bad।
old school beggars, and the bottom says new age beggars. Now, I can see some resemblance, but to be fair, streamers do provide some form of entertainment. They do sing and dance and so on, so a better comparison might be to street performers rather than beggars in social media content creation. These companies are officially known as MCN, or multi-channel network, in the industry. They're basically streaming agencies or influencer agencies. They provide streamers with training, equipment, help them broker sponsor relationship, and with other logistical tasks in exchange for a cut of the streamer's revenue. The idea of a company taking care of these kind of things for me sounds like a great value proposition in theory. But in practice, joining an agency, especially in China, usually means giving up on some degree of creative and career freedom.
So तुम में से जिनको नहीं पता, this is actually true for VTubers, right? तो VTubers are those जो कि like real face use नहीं करते हैं, but uses a character or avatar from anime. अब तुम में से जिनको anime नहीं पता, तो I don't know, probably you are living in under a rock. तो जो एनिमे एवतार्स यूज करते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ देयर रियल फेस, तो जब तुम एक एमसीएन से साइन करते हो एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, it can be really helpful and really dangerous. Like you are dealing with a devil, right? तो कभी कभार तुम कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल चीजों में इतना ज्यादा उलझ जाते हो कि तुम्हें अपना फ्रीडम तक छोड़ना पड़ता है. इट्स सेम एज रियल लाइफ आइडल्स लाइक के पॉप and other idol bands, right? But a popular VTuber named Gorgora has announced her graduation, which means leaving from Hololive over disagreements with management and company direction. So ये एक recent incident है, which is like April 16th, 2025, 4.3 million views, 98k likes, and almost 4.6k retweets. So this is actually insane. She was one of the biggest English VTuber streamer, right? जो कि लाइक काफी ज्यादा पॉपुलर थी. सो शी अल्टीमेटली लेफ्ट द एजेंसी एंड स्टार्टेड हर ओन वीट्यूबर मॉडल एंड ओन चैनल, जो कि कोई भी तरह से लिंक नहीं है कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल और कंपनी के साथ. नाउ शी हैज हर ओन इंडिपेंडेंट वीट्यूबर करियर. दिस इज वेरी सीरियस कि तुम अगर कोई भी एमसीएन जैसी कंपनी के साथ डील करते हो कॉन्ट्रेक्चुअल, सो यू नीड टू बी वेरी केयरफुल व्हाट यू आर गिविंग एंड व्हाट यू आर टेकिंग, राइट?
Be in mind that Chinese streamers don't make revenue until viewers give it to them. Failing to meet these quotas could result in fines. And if streamers try to leave the agency before their contract's completion, they could get sued. So it's easy to see how these restrictions can intensify desperation and push streamers to hustle ever more frantically to avoid breaching contract terms. For example, you might have seen clips like this circulating on the internet. People have called them influencer factories, and these would have been operated by influencer agencies. Not all of them look this bad though. There are some with better conditions, like this one based in Indonesia. But the biggest thing, the streamers, there's even a continuous red carpet that are laid out on the ground sometimes, meaning that the team had come and set this up beforehand for their streamers. As
I think कोई भी चीज अगर बहुत ज्यादा बड़े लेवल पे हो जाए एंड एक ओवर सैचुरेशन रेट पे पहुंच जाए, तो उसका जो वैल्यू है बहुत ज्यादा गिर जाता है. एंड आई थिंक चाइना में अभी सबसे ज्यादा यही हो रहा है. ओनली फ्यू बिग स्ट्रीमर्स जो कि एक लेवल तक पहुंच चुके हैं, उनके लिए रिस्पेक्ट है, राइट? दीज स्ट्रीमर्स जो कि रोड में बैठ के ऐसे स्ट्रीम कर रहे हैं एंड एक एजेंसी इन सबको संभाल रही है, दैट फील्स रियली वियर्ड, राइट? आई थिंक दे आर गेटिंग ट्रीटेड लाइक ए रियली लेस वैल्यूड स्ट्रीमर. लेकिन वो स्ट्रीमर जो कि लाइक घर पे बैठ के स्ट्रीम कर रहे हैं और उनको बहुत ज्यादा व्यूज आ रहा है, वर्सेस ऐसे स्ट्रीमर्स जो कि रोड पे बैठ के स्ट्रीम कर रहे हैं, उनका वैल्यू काफी ज्यादा कम है. एंड आई थिंक देयर इज अ बिग डिस्टोपियन वाइब हियर. आई थिंक आई बेट कि इनमें से काफी सारी लड़कियां काफी ज्यादा ब्यूटीफुल होगी, लेकिन there is a big culture out there जहाँ पे लोग काफी ज्यादा heavily मेकअप करते हैं just to look good on the camera, specifically to the viewers, right? लेकिन जब तुम उनको रियलिटी में मिलोगे तो बहुत ही ज्यादा डिफरेंस आ सकता है जिसको तुम मोबाइल में देखते हो versus एक रियल पर्सन.
regardless of how these gatherings form, there is something about them. They look almost dystopian, like something out of a Black Mirror episode. One of the reasons it looks so jarring is because it juxtaposes a series of polar opposites that really shouldn't belong together. For instance, it juxtaposes the appearance of wealth and fame to poverty and obscurity. These streamers are all...
I think there is a big thing that I noticed, कि there are a lot of female streamers than male streamers, right? It's like 10 to 1 ratio.
It juxtaposes collectivism and individualism as well. China has a collectivist culture, after all. So, by and large, people prioritize social cohesion and group well-being above their personal ambition. These street gatherings seem to trend towards this kind of collectivism. Everyone is sitting in front of the same equipment while doing the same things. It looks like they are one unit, working towards the common goal. But the reality is quite the opposite. It's hyper individualistic. The streamers aren't working towards any sort of collective well being. Rather, each streamer is out for themselves, climbing over each other to take a slice from a pie that is only so large. There are only so many viewers on the platform that night, each of them with only so much budget for tips. For one streamer to gain a viewer's attention and tip is for another to lose it. And this individualistic zero-sum competition leads to the last juxtaposition, the appearance of individuality.
एंड एज आई सेड एक प्लेटफॉर्म में एक लिमिटेड लोग ही होते हैं जो कि तुम्हें एक्चुअली डोनेशन वगैरह प्रोवाइड करते हैं, राइट? एंड जो बाकी 100 लोगों के साथ बैठे हुए हैं और एंड सेम टाइम पे स्ट्रीम कर रहे हैं, then maybe someone getting the donation and you are losing on it, right? Let's say you are getting donation today, right? लेकिन दूसरे ही दिन तुम्हारे बगल वाले स्ट्रीमर को डोनेशन मिल रहा है और उससे तुम्हें नुकसान हो रहा है क्योंकि आज तुम्हें डोनेशन नहीं मिल रहा है. सो देयर आर वेरी लिमिटेड पर्सन जो तुम्हें डोनेशंस वगैरह कर सकती है, राइट?
Industry is something I'll call rat racification. That is not a real word, but I'm going to use it to refer to this process of transforming otherwise creative and productive pursuit into zero-sum hustle. Content creation was a cool thing initially. It was a venue for creatives to share their work, and people who resonated with them could start following them. It was sort of amateur and underground, and Asian parents had yet to agree that it was a real job. And then people started noticing how much money was in it and began to flood into the industry. There was enough financial reward there for some people to be willing to go to the extreme to win. Next thing
आई थिंक इट्स वेरी ट्रू. जो स्ट्रीमर्स है उनको काफी ज्यादा मेहनत करना पड़ता है. जो एक्चुअली स्ट्रीमर्स बनना चाहते हैं, दे रियली वांट द फेम एंड द मनी, दे रियली डोंट वांट टू पुट द वर्क, राइट? क्योंकि एक स्ट्रीमर बनने के लिए तुम्हें रियली डेली लाइव आना होगा और एक सर्टेन पीरियड तक लाइव करना पड़ेगा, राइट? यू कैन नॉट जस्ट लाइव फॉर 1 to 2 hour एंड जस्ट कॉल इट अ डे, राइट? तुम्हें कम से कम नहीं भी तो 6 से 7 घंटा और इवन 8 से 9 घंटा तक स्ट्रीम करना पड़ सकता है. द ओनली डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ रियल जॉब एंड अ स्ट्रीमर कि तुम अपना घर में बैठे अपने कन्वीनियंस के हिसाब से स्ट्रीम कर रहे हो, लेकिन जब तुम एक जॉब कर रहे हो तो तुम्हें तुम्हें गर्मी में बाहर जाना पड़ रहा है एंड काफी ज्यादा इनकन्वीनियंस रहता है. द ओनली कन्वीनियंस यू आर गेटिंग इन द स्ट्रीमर स्पेस इज कि तुम कन्वीनियंस वे में स्ट्रीम कर सकते हो, खाते हुए, पीते हुए, गेम खेलते हुए. तो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ वेज. लेकिन स्ट्रीमर बनना इतना ज्यादा आसान नहीं है. सेम इज वीडियो क्रिएशन. जैसे मैं वीडियो बना रहा हूँ एंड आई एम मेकिंग वीडियोस ऑलमोस्ट एवरी डे, लेकिन जब लोग देखते हैं अदर बड़े बिग क्रिएटर्स को जो कि अच्छा खासा वीडियोस पे व्यूज लाते हैं, सो दे थिंक कि लाइक ओ माय गॉड दिस इज सो इजी, ऑल यू हैव टू डू जस्ट ब्रिंग द कैमरा और मे बी द माइक एंड जस्ट स्टार्ट टॉकिंग. लेकिन जब वो रियलिटी में वो चीज को एग्जीक्यूट करने जाते हैं, it's much more difficult than what it looks like, right? So I think people have this delusion कि एक अच्छा कंटेंट क्रिएटर बनना बहुत ही ज्यादा आसान है, when in reality ये वन ऑफ द मुश्किल काम में से एक है. क्योंकि पहला बात तुम्हें कोई भी पैसे नहीं मिल रहे हैं कंटेंट बनाने के. दूसरा बात यू हैव टू वेट फॉर द लॉन्ग टाइम एंड तुम्हें उस चीज में ग्रो करना पड़ेगा जिस चीज के बारे में तुम एक्चुअली वीडियोस वगैरह बना रहे हो. यू हैव टू गेट अ लॉट ऑफ व्यूज टू मेक अ डिसेंट लिविंग, राइट? सो आई थिंक पीपल रियली अंडर एस्टिमेट कंटेंट क्रिएशन. दैट्स जस्ट माय ओपिनियन.
You know, the whole endeavor became a zero-sum rat race, something that isn't so different from the traditional rat race, like working at a bad office job with an exploitative employer. So you can sit in your street cubicle and do streaming work the same way you sit in your office cubicle and do paperwork. Just a different flavor of soul sucking, but your soul is getting sucked either way. This doesn't just happen in Chinese content creation, of course. In the West, for instance, you can find courses online that teach you how to churn out basically garbage content quickly or even in an automated fashion so that you can extract easy and fast income or even passive income on social media platforms. And this isn't limited to the content creation industry either. Rat racification can and has happened to many industries. But personally, as a content creator, it is a shame for me to see the rat racification of my industry in real time and its effect on people.
एंड इट्स ट्रू, राइट? क्योंकि इंडिया में भी ये इफेक्ट काइंड ऑफ दिखना शुरू हो गया है जहाँ पे कंटेंट क्रिएशन इज बिकमिंग मोर एंड मोर एक्सेसिबल टू द नॉर्मल पब्लिक, राइट? पहले तो ऐसा था कि तुम्हें काफी सारा गियर्स ये वो 24 चीजें चाहिए होता था। एंड कंटेंट क्रिएशन रियली वाज अ वैल्यूएबल थिंग, राइट? और पहले लोगों को उतना ज्यादा विश्वास होता भी नहीं था, खासकर हमारे इंडियन पेरेंट्स को उतना ज्यादा भरोसा होता भी नहीं था। लेकिन जैसे जैसे लोगों को दिखना शुरू हुआ कि इस चीज में काफी ज्यादा पैसा है, काफी ज्यादा फेम है, काफी ज्यादा नाम वाम है, तो लोगों ने स्टार्ट किया एंड लोग फेमस होते चले गए। एंड ये चीज अभी इतना ज्यादा नॉर्मलाइज होना शुरू हो गया है, नॉट एज big as China and maybe some Western countries, लेकिन it's getting really really crowded in the Indian content creator sector as well.
People. Since I started making content, I've made many YouTuber friends who have since quit making videos. Many of them have come to content creation with one expectation, and when that expectation wasn't met, they soon burnt out. Now, this is just a personal theory of mine, but I think the rat race is a choice to some degree. I believe that it's possible to not participate in the rat race, even if the industry one is in is rat racifying in real time. In other words, just because other people in my industry are rat racing out of control doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do it too. Now, I'm not giving career advice here, and I'm not saying what I'm doing is the only way. But just to use it as an example, I had a friend who asked me this once. He said, Lewis, look at these big YouTube channels like Mr. Beast, right? They have much bigger budgets and teams of professional writers and editors. All you have is a camera and a keyboard, so how can you possibly compete? Now, this is just my take on it, but I don't think I am competing with Mr. Beast. I'm looking to create content that falls in the intersection between what I love making, what I'm good at making, and what people like watching. And this intersection will be different for different creators, almost by definition. I learned this from listening to Naval Ravikant, although I think it might actually be a variation of the Japanese philosophy of ikigai. So feel free to look into these sources further if you're interested in this idea. I adopted the idea for YouTube, but the original is much more general and can be applied to pretty much any industry. The idea is that you should pick an endeavor that falls in the intersection of what you love doing, what you are good at, and what people are willing to pay you for. Now, if someone is exclusively motivated by money, they'll tend to ignore what they love doing. They'll push hard on what they are good at and what they'll get paid for, and that is one way that you could get yourself into a rat race. If you're just
And this is exactly what is really important right now, कि तुम्हें एक स्वीट स्पॉट ढूंढने की जरूरत है जिसपे तुम रेगुलरली काम कर सकते हो, जो तुम्हें करना पसंद है और जिसके लिए तुम्हें पैसे भी मिलेंगे। दिस समथिंग दैट आई रियली लव डूइंग इट, राइट? पॉलिटिक्स, गेमिंग, रिएक्शन, दिस माय काइंड ऑफ थिंग जो मुझे करना पसंद है। एंड आई थिंक दिस इज रियली वैल्यूएबल एज वेल टू द व्यूअर्स, एंड दिस इज समथिंग जो कि वर्क करता है। ऑफ कोर्स इन इंडिया पॉलिटिक्स इज रियली बिग। आई डोंट नो अबाउट गेमिंग, बट ऑफ कोर्स आई कैन डू इट इन अ वे जिससे लोगों को काफी ज्यादा एंटरटेनमेंट उससे भी मिल सकता है। जो भी स्ट्रीमिंग और वीडियो क्रिएशन लाइनअप में जाना जाता है, दिस पार्ट इज एक्चुअली रियली इंपॉर्टेंट।
grinding it out and hustling, then you're not getting anything intrinsic out of the experience. And that's a problem not because of some romantic notion of this you must do what you love cliche. The reason is much more practical. Exclusive outcome orientation is a problem because it's a competitive disadvantage. If you're good at something but hate it, someone else who is also good at it but love it will outdo you. The trick is therefore to be ambitious enough to follow your passion, but never be so idealistic as to lose sight of what you're good at and what people will pay for. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. On average, it takes a lot of time and countless trial and error, and success isn't guaranteed. For example, I'm still iterating to find my sweet spot in the intersection between these three circles regarding my own effort on YouTube. My channel hasn't made enough revenue to cover what I've spent since I quit my job, so I'm still in the red so far.
And exactly that's what people are doing wrong. People quit their job and think कि like, oh my god, this guy is making so much money and I can do it as well. एक साल जाता है, 2 साल जाता है and उनको कोई benefits नहीं मिलता है, specifically पैसे, तो they quit and they lose all their hope. And वही जिसको ये काम करना पसंद है और जो वो रेगुलरली कर रहा है एंड प्लस ही विल बी गेटिंग पेड सूनर और लेटर, राइट? ऐसा पर्सन तुम्हें 100% पीछे छोड़ देगा क्योंकि उसे वो काम करना पसंद है एंड वो कंसिस्टेंटली करते 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 एक स्वीट स्पॉट तक पहुंचता है जहां उसे वो काम करने में भी मजा आ रहा है एंड ही इज ऑल्सो गेटिंग व्यूज एंड मनी एंड फेम, ऑल द थिंग्स दैट कम्स विद यूट्यूब एंड स्ट्रीमिंग.
Remains to be seen whether it'll work out before I run out of savings. I am ready though to take my resume back to the job market if it doesn't work out, and I'd probably keep making content on the side and try again once I have enough savings. Because I remember what it was like to push myself to do only what people are paying me for when I worked as a corporate consultant for a few years. No, I'm not saying all jobs are bad, but that particular one just wasn't for me. It was a grind and created a lot of unnecessary human misery. So I think it's worth it to take some time to figure out a way to avoid that, even if it takes a long time. Especially when I know that it's possible to avoid the rat race, as I've seen people succeeding at it. And even in something as competitive as Chinese streaming industry, there are examples of people who have figured out ways to navigate it while maintaining their sanity and passion. I'm not talking about the sort of get-rich-quick stories that streaming agencies often use for recruitment. I'm thinking about stories like this one, where a streamer figures out a path over time to create useful products and services and uses content as a way to find the people that can benefit from them. Now, this is not a report of someone who's becoming insanely rich, but maybe that's not the point of their journey. And their journey is still ongoing, so who knows where it will end up. And the point is that it looks like they are enjoying their journey so much that it's already fulfilling, regardless of its destination. Now, I want to acknowledge the possibility that some industries can be so toxic that the only way to compete is to rat race, and one might rarely have to switch industry to get out of it. I'm not saying that it's easy to find a sustainable and meaningful career. I'm not saying everyone will succeed at it for sure. I'm not trying to dole out baseless motivation here. As you may have noticed, a lot of the topics I cover are quite depressing. At some point, we all need to connect with reality, and reality can be unforgiving. These haunting footage of
This is really bad. This is some kind of dystopian movie जो कि हम लोग literally theater में जाके देखते हैं कि everyone is following one person, सब कोई एक puppet है mastermind का. So this is kind of like that dystopian movie.
rows of street streamers is one manifestation of that stark fact. But it is precisely because the consequences of succumbing to the rat race are so dire that it is important to not give up on looking for sane and meaningful ways to navigate it. So I hope that the story of the homeless streamers did not make you jaded.
आई होप तुम्हें ये वीडियो से वैल्यू मिला हो क्योंकि आई थिंक स्ट्रीमिंग इंडस्ट्री इज रियली ग्रेट अगर तुम उसको ढंग से करते हो एंड तुम्हें पता है कि तुम्हें उससे क्या चाहिए एंड तुम क्या लोगों को प्रोवाइड कर सकते हो राइट एंड लेकिन अगर तुम एक डिल्यूजन पर्सन हो एक डिल्यूजन के साथ आते हो इस करियर में देन देयर आर रियली नो होप क्योंकि कंपटीशन इज ग्रोइंग एंड थिंग्स आर गेटिंग हार्डर एंड हार्डर ठीक है पीपल आर ऑलरेडी सेइंग ओ माय गॉड आज से 10 साल पहले आता तो प्रॉब्ली मुझे इतना कंपटीशन फेस करना नहीं पड़ता लेकिन आई वुड से दिस इज मच मोर बेटर टाइम टू स्टार्ट क्योंकि अभी लोग ज्यादा जागरूक है इस चीजों को लेके एंड लोग ज्यादा सपोर्ट भी दिखाते हैं इन सब चीजों को rather देन 10 years बैक जहां पे लोगों को कुछ भी नहीं पता था एंड यू कैन नॉट जस्ट स्टार्ट इन इंडियन फैमिली एंड एक्सपेक्ट योर पेरेंट्स टू सपोर्ट यू राइट दिस इज लाइक that was like really bad situation but in 2025 if you start a YouTube channel most probably your parents might support you. I know this is a very long video but I think this is worth it and I think China is wilding out and things are getting really wild in India as well. And yeah guys, give this video a like, right? ये बहुत ही अच्छा वीडियो था and I think I would recommend this video 100%.